Hello, 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 nonprofit leaders. Sarah Olivieri here. And today, in this just few minutes tips mini training, I want to talk to you about why you should rethink your org chart altogether. And I'm not talking about who's on your team, I'm talking about the whole concept of an org chart. If your organization is stuck in a hierarchical rut, if it's stifling innovation and growth, that's what we're going to be talking about today. The problem with the org chart model and what to do instead. So a lot of people talk about, if you look at where did the org chart come from, they talk about the Industrial Revolution. But the org chart actually conceptually comes from a leadership model of people in charge of people, right? It is who has authority. It's an authoritarian model. Who has authority to tell someone else what to do? And one of the things that really influenced the Industrial Revolution's business organizing principles was actually the slave model for running plantations. So it's not really a model designed to innovate. It's a model designed to essentially use humans as though they were a machine and almost as though they were expendable and interchangeable, which hopefully you all listening know human beings are not exposable and dispensable, and they are not interchangeable either. So flaw number one with the traditional org chart model is that it is not good for innovation. It's relatively good for keeping extreme consistency. But in general, at nonprofits, we have missions that are related to problems in this world that are not solved, which means we need to be focused on innovation, not producing widgets consistently. Problem number two is that this hierarchical command and control authoritarian model treats people badly, and people don't like it. And it didn't actually work that well, even in the context of slavery. Because, well, we don't need to go into the because, but if you're interested in that topic more specifically, there's a great book. It's called, I'm looking to see if I see it. It's called Accounting for Slavery. And it's all about the bookkeeping accounting principles that came out of the slave plantation model and made its way into the Industrial Revolution. That's more of a topic for another day. So back to the org chart. So if you have this org chart model, then you probably are using language like who are my direct reports, or who's my supervisor, right? And it's all about people trying to control other people. And at the end of the day, if we're trying to control people's behaviors, if that's what we're managing, that would be great if we were all like therapists or ABA, applied behavior analyst specialists, right? But our goal in our organizations is not to control people's behavior. It's to get results. It's to achieve outcomes. So in shifting away from an org chart model, what should we shift to? Well, we should shift to a model that focuses on one, managing outcomes. Okay. This is what we're going to control, what we're going to measure, what we're going to watch closely and supervise are the results that we are trying to get. And if we are getting those results with our actions. To a certain degree, we can measure, were the actions even taken? And if they're not, at a very basic level, like if everyone is involved with creating a plan and you have buy-in and then they just don't do it, and there isn't a good explanation like COVID happened, or, someone was sick, or we had an unexpected staff turnover, or we thought it would be something easy. It was something new to us and it turned out to be extremely time and labor intensive, right? If none of those things happen, it's just somebody just totally dropped the ball. Well, you shouldn't have people on your team who are just dropping the ball with no good explanation. And that's a very different situation. That's not someone who needs to be managed or supervised. That's someone who needs to be let go. Okay. So that's kind of piece one, is we want to focus on managing outcomes over managing people, trying to control outcomes, which are inanimate concepts, not trying to control people. And if we're not trying to control people and we're focused on outcomes, there's a number of things that we can do. It becomes much easier to turn your org chart, which this new kind I call a leadership blueprint, to just move away from the org chart language. There is a hierarchy in this blueprint. Sorry, I've cut my own self off. So I want to just go back and say, one thing that becomes easier when we start having conversations about what are the key outcomes we're trying to achieve, not just in our goals, right? That's where your strategic goals, but there are key areas that you need to always be thinking about outcomes in your organization. There's actually, I developed over a number of years looking at what different nonprofits need. And there's a set of functions that is the same across all nonprofits I have ever looked at. There's a basic function around bringing in the donated money. There's a basic function about making sure that you're getting the best fit clients into the most impactful services. There are a number of functions about optimizing resources. So ensuring that you're getting the most out of your money, that you're getting the most out of your tools, that you're getting the most out of your physical space. There's a basic function around ensuring that you have the right fit plan, right? That it's the right timing, that it's a good set of strategic goals for the resources that you have. It's not asking you to do too much too soon or too little too slowly. And the basic function around going in the right direction, right? Ensuring that your organization is thinking about the future and making moves to move them into the future and thinking, ahead, around corners, right? What's next? Seeing around the corner, planning for the future. Those are the core functions that all nonprofits need to have. And we can actually use this set of functions as a chart to replace our org charts. When we have that in place, we can open up discussions around who should be where. And what this allows us to do, we open this up to our teams to have these conversations. It creates pathways for development that could be leadership in terms of I'm upskilling to the level that I'm becoming an expert, and I'm now comfortable making outcome related decisions, right? Because I think I talked about in one of my previous lives, the heads roles versus the hands roles. And a heads role is one that's comfortable being accountable for an outcome, making decisions around how to achieve something, an outcome that you don't actually have direct control over. So like I'll use an example, like my son might be hungry. That's his body. I don't have direct control of that. I could feed him a sandwich. That might do the trick. Although sometimes he's really, really hungry, right? Sometimes he's hungry because he's bored, right? And so you don't know. So someone can be like, I'm a hands roll. I make sandwiches all day long. But someone else has to be the heads roll is, what is the approach that's going to do the trick for this hunger? Is it a sandwich? Is it a bowl of pasta? Is it, a series of meals throughout the day? Does he need to go do something physical? Is he actually not eating his food? Like really diagnosing what's going on here. All the parents here know what I'm talking about if you ever had a growing, hungry child. So we have the heads roles and the hands roles. So someone could evolve from being a hands to a heads in a specific area. And that happens through gaining of skills and experience, becoming kind of an expert. And it also partly has to do with our kind of internal makeup, our constitution, our comfort level with risk. People who are accountable for outcomes need to have a certain level of comfort with risk, because there's risk involved that you're not going to achieve it because you don't have direct control. When we can have conversations about how people want to advance their careers, we get people flowing into the roles that make the most sense for them. We get our teams really dialed in, and that is super, super powerful. And it kind of fosters this culture of people thinking about how they're going to evolve in the organization. And of course, they're happier and they stay longer, right? So this is a form essentially of distributing leadership, which frees up. If you have the hierarchy model, it means your decisions are really bottlenecked between one or a small handful of people. We can only make so many good decisions in a day. For those of you who know, like I'm an avid sailor and I love racing sailboats. And my theme of racing this season is I like to teach people and bring people along as well. And I'm always learning myself. Is for those people I have been teaching, I say so much about racing well is because in a sailboat race, there are way more decisions. There's so many variables going on, so much, mechanics, weather, human dynamics on a crew, all this stuff we do all sorts of things to reduce the number of decisions we need to make on the water. Sometimes it's as simple as there's something that you turn one way to tighten and you turn the other way to loosen. We just put a big arrow on the deck that shows which way is tightened so that we don't have to think about it in the moment. That's one less decision we have to make. We don't have to figure out which way is tightened, which way is loosened. We've got the cheat sheet right there so we can focus on other things. And it's the same in our organizations. The fewer decisions we have to make, the better. So we want to distribute those decisions. We want to have systems and processes that reduce the decisions that we need to make. And shifting from an org chart model, an authoritarian model, to an outcomes focused distributed model is one of the best things you can possibly do when it comes to more effective decision making, a happier team, and really leveraging the brain power of as many people on your team as possible. In some ways, having a lot of money can help you win, but having the most brain power on your team can make a huge difference. That's all I have for you this week. If you would like tips like this in your email box, or you just want announcements about when I'm going live again, or upcoming trainings, or the upcoming releases of the podcast, I hope, Inspired Nonprofit Leadership, go to pivotground.com/sign up, and I will send you weekly tips as well as those announcements. If you're thinking, oh my God, Sarah's speaking my language, I want this new type of org chart, this leadership model, that's what we teach in the Thrive program, where I work with nonprofit leaders, primarily executive directors, but there's support for boards and other leadership roles as well, one-on-one. That's in the Thrive program. And the simple first step for that is just to go to pivotground.com/application, complete a very short application. I'll review it manually. And if it seems like we might be a good fit, we'll have a call and we'll talk about the details and all that good stuff.